Tonight, Ben Affleck is the prime suspect in Gone Girl.
Twins rediscover pleasure and pain in The Skeleton Twins.
And Luke Evans stakes a claim as the new Prince of Darkness in Dracula Untold. Hello.
Good evening.
Also tonight, kidnappers get more than they bargained for in Life of Crime.
Golden Girls strike a pose in the documentary Advanced Style.
And this week's classic is Rainer Werner Fassbinder's Fear Eats the Soul. But first, David, start us out with the Skeleton Twins.
In Los Angeles, Milo, Bill Hader, an unsuccessful gay actor, attempts suicide. Across the country in New York State, his twin sister Maggie, Kristen Wiig, also contemplates ending it all. The siblings haven't seen each other for 10 years. But Maggie brings Milo back to the home where she lives with her laddish but kindly husband, Lance, Luke Wilson. Gradually, incidents are revealed from the past lives of the twins, incidents involving the death of their father, the current lifestyle of their irritating mother, Joanna Gleason, and Milo's relationship with Rich, Ty Burrell, who used to be his teacher.
Hello.
Where were you this morning?
Well, Kevin had a friend, and last night I got lucky.
Well, you missed work, so not cool.
I was a little late. Lance understood.
You have to get your shit together, Milo.
That is a very interesting statement coming from you.
You know what?
What? Wow.
Directed by Craig Johnson, scripted by Johnson and Mark Heyman, and produced by, among others, Mark and Jay Duplass, this is a better-than-average relationship movie, thanks to insightful writing and very fine acting. This story of dysfunctional twins who each carry burdens inherited from their childhood could have been depressing, but in fact is imbued with a sharp sense of humour. Humour accentuated by the relaxed and accomplished lead performances. Hader's Milo, particularly, is a richly drawn character whose insights into his own flaws can't prevent him repeating past mistakes, while Luke Wilson makes Lance, who at first seems the epitome of the mindless male jock, a nuanced and ultimately moving character. The only flaw is the gratingly false Aussie accent employed by Boyd Holbrook, who plays Maggie's scuba diving coach. Margaret.
I thought he was really Australian.
Oh, did you know he's American?
Or New Zealand. But I think this is a lovely film and really marked by those two central performances.
They're really good, aren't they?
But Luke Wilson is fabulous as the husband. I mean, that's a really lovely, nuanced performance from him.
I thought so too.
But, you know, the Duplass brothers involve themselves in really interesting indie films.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
And I just... Yeah, there's something really nice about this. And these two who have been separated for so long and who actually get such joy out of being together. Well, you know, that sibling connection is so beautifully
that's the lovely
portrayed.
thing, because at first they seem to have very little in common, but
yeah,
gradually as the film progresses, the love, the basic love between the two of them emerges, and it does so beautifully.
You know, they're both so damaged at the beginning of the film, and, you know, it's almost like a healing process. It's beautiful.
It's
I'm giving it 4 stars.
Yes, me too, 4 stars.
We're going out.
What?
It is Halloween. Lance is at fantasy football. I say you put on something pretty and or freaky, preferably both.
Yeah. I can do this at a night show.
Oh, I want to do it. Okay. Tell me if you don't like it.
I will tell you immediately if I don't like it.
The Skeleton Twins is currently screening in limited national release. Many of you will have been anticipating the film adaptation of Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl, just as I have, particularly with David Fincher directing. This story of a marriage gone sour begins as Nick, Ben Affleck, comes home to his suburban pile in North Carthage, Missouri, to find his wife, Amy Rosamund Pike, is missing, and there are signs of violence in the house. The police arrive. Detective Rhonda Boney, Kim Dickens, is not so eager to suspect Nick as some of her colleagues. Nick's twin sister Margot, Carrie Coon, is supportive but also exasperated with him. As the days pass and Nick's duplicity is revealed, a media storm erupts.
Nick Dunn, you're probably the most hated man in America right now. Did you kill your wife, Nick?
Everyone told us marriage is hard work. Not for me and Nick.
As you all know, my wife, Amy Elliott Dunn, disappeared 3 days ago. I had nothing to do with the disappearance of my wife. I have nothing to hide.
From Amy's diary, we learn about the early days of their relationship in New York and how things started going downhill after they both lost their jobs as writers and her parents need to raise her trust fund to weather the economic downturn. It's not an easy book to translate to the screen, but Gillian Flynn, who adapted her own work, and David Fincher have created a seamless film dominated by fabulous performances by everyone in the cast, but particularly by the players at the centre, Pike, Affleck, Dickens, Coon, and Tyler Perry, who plays Nick's lawyer. I had read the book, so the story was familiar, but this fascinating exploration of unreliable narratives and the warped power of the media has enough twists and turns to engross, despite that familiarity. It's only towards the end that you become aware of the improbability of the whole, but by then it's too late. You've been hooked. David?
Well, I must say I was hooked, yes. I've not read the book, so I came to this without any preconceptions at all.
Lucky you.
Yeah, and I found it absolutely intriguing and fascinating and didn't know which way it was going, especially as it started the story being seen from different points of view. I thought at the end, looking back, that it was, as you say, really quite improbable. I couldn't really work out quite why things happened the way they did.
Well, I think it's true of the book too. There's and towards the end, something happens,
right?
That you go, hang on,
hello,
carry on.
But David Fincher is a remarkably good director.
Yes.
He's consistently made interesting films. Maybe this isn't quite up to the level of some of his best films. I mean, it's not the same as Zodiac, for example, or Social Network, or some of the others.
Yes.
But it's still pretty good, I think.
And it's interesting that Reese Witherspoon got the rights to this book.
And that Missy Powell looks just like her, playing the television person. Yeah.
But, and I think she anticipated playing Amy, but, I think Rosamund Pike does a fabulous job.
I think Ben Affleck's terrific in this, really.
I think it's one of his best roles. I'm giving this 4 stars.
Yes, me too, 4 stars.
Amy got friends we can talk to?
No, not really.
You don't know if she has friends, you don't know what she does all day, and you don't know your wife's blood type.
Just being a good guy, so everybody can see him being a good guy.
Boy, you really don't like him, do you?
All I'm trying to do is be nice to the people who are volunteering to help find Amy.
I will practice believing my husband loves me, but I could be wrong.
You ever see that guy in the glasses before?
Amy's the kind of girl who attracts admirers.
Whoever took her is bound to bring her back.
I'm hoping you can tell me what this means.
You want to solve Amy's treasure hunt?
You seen this girl around here?
Yeah, I remember her.
I know you. I saw you at the volunteer center.
I wanted to help.
What'd she want?
She wanted a gun.
We are all scared, but we are all here now.
I feel like something to be jettisoned if necessary. I feel like I could disappear.
Gone Girl opens around the country this week. Now to Dracula Untold. Universal Studios acquired the rights to Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula at the beginning of the talkie era, and they plan to film it with their leading star of silent horror films, Lon Chaney. Chaney's death meant that when the film was made in 1931, the star was Bela Lugosi. Since then, Dracula has never died. Sequels, remakes, revisions, send-ups, The Guy with the Fangs has been a cinema staple. Dracula Untold is a prequel, but the screenplay by Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless isn't so much untold as told too often. Essentially, it's the Faust story with Prince Vlad, Luke Evans, ruler of Transylvania in 1462, refusing to comply with the demands of Turkish leader Sultan Mehmed and provide 1,000 Transylvanian youths for the Turkish army. As a result, Mehmed attacks, but Vlad has an ace up his sleeve, or rather, a vampire in his cave. an elderly vampire, Charles Dance, who bestows supernatural powers on our lad.
Why spill blood if not for the pleasure of it?
Because men do not fear swords. They fear monsters. They run from them. By putting one village to the stake, I spared 10 more. Sometimes the world no longer needs a hero. Sometimes what it needs is a monster.
And you believe you know what it is to be a monster? You have no idea. But I'm going to show you.
It's a pretty batty concept, and it's handled with anonymity by first-time Irish feature director Gary Shaw. Repetitive scenes of flocks of bats attacking the Turks are intercut with scenes of Vlad's soul-searching. Sarah Gaydon as Morena, his wife, has little to do, and an epilogue set in contemporary London doesn't contribute much. The main crime committed by the film is that it isn't scary and it isn't suspenseful. Despite all the blood and gore and clever makeup, it's resolutely unengaging. Margaret.
It is, actually. It's pretty ludicrous and silly. And I found the dialogue was so cliched and some of the shots as well. However, I think Luke Evans is a really charismatic performer. I liked him very much. I just wish he'd had... I'd like to see more of what he can do on screen, actually.
Isn't it interesting, though, that here's obviously quite a big-budget film, which has been entrusted to a first-time director. Now that...
Well, yeah, but, you know, I mean, this was an original project for Alex Proyas, with Sam Worthington to play the Dracula role.
I hope that would have been better than this.
I imagine it would have been.
Yeah, because this is really surprisingly dull, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really. I'm giving it 2.5 stars.
I'm giving it 2.
Dracula Untold opens nationally this week. As you might have gathered, David and I have vastly different approaches to fashion, so I'll be interested to hear what he thinks of this next film. It's Advanced Style, a documentary by director Lena Pleoplite, which celebrates stylish women who are quite advanced in age. Ari Seth Cohen, who produced the film, began by photographing well-dressed older women on the streets of New York and establishing a blog about them. He subsequently published a book, and now comes the movie.
My grandmothers were my best friends, and one of them told me at an early age if I wanted to be creative, I should move to New York City. New York is the perfect city for advanced style ladies because they can use the broad avenues and the streets as their runways. These women really challenge our notion of getting older. They really embrace their age, feel good about themselves, and every time they leave the house, they look and feel their best. I've always connected with older people. I've always felt a certain affinity for older people, and I think it's because of all the time that I spent with my grandmothers and all the wisdom that they shared with me. And I feel like so many older people are ignored.
What's remarkable about these women is their zest for life. They regard themselves as artists. The women ruminate on relationships or lack of them, on ageing, on their lives generally, and they are an entertaining bunch. My particular favourite is 93-year-old Ilona Royce-Smithkin. She has a grand heart and a truly eccentric, anarchic sense of style. It seems that Ari Cohen has made these women his project, and his presence in the documentary smacks of self-promotion. But the women win out in the end. They're an inspiration with their energy and sheer sense of going for it with their advanced style. David.
Well, you're right, Margaret, to the extent that we don't always see eye to eye on Star.
No, we don't.
And I wouldn't pretend to have your knowledge on this subject. So I think I sort of have to stand back on this one. Look, I think the women are extraordinary. Yeah. Obviously, they love this dressing up.
Yes.
And that empowers them and gives them something to live for, I suppose. I don't think it's a particularly good documentary, actually.
No, but I don't either. But the fact that these women leap out from it, you know, and some of them I just wanted to embrace. Look, you know, I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
I'm giving it 3.
There was a fellow from France who used to make eyelashes, and I bought them. And then he died. And I said, oh, what am I going to do? They're falling out here. And so I decided, in order to have it right, I took my own hair and I cut it, and I made my own eyelashes. I would call myself now an artist. At one time, I had no self-confidence and I didn't think I could do anything. But seeing so much art around and seeing what I can do and what I've learned and represent, I am an artist and I'm a teacher.
She's great, isn't she? Advanced Style opens around the country in limited release this week. The setting of Life of Crime, an adaptation of the Elmore Leonard novel The Switch, is Detroit in 1978. A couple of small-time criminals, Ordell Yazin Bey, a.k.a. Mos Def, and Lewis, John Hawkes, plot to kidnap Mickey, Jennifer Aniston, the trophy wife of obnoxious millionaire Frank Dawson, Tim Robbins, and hold her to ransom for $1 million. Naturally, things don't work out the way they plan, with complications that include Melanie, Isla Fisher, the young woman who's captured Frank's attention, and Marshall, Will Fort, a country club type enamoured of Mickey. And then there's Richard, Mark Boone Jr., a Nazi with a bad attitude and lots of guns, who, according to Ordell, is so dumb he's adorable.
This here, a Kentucky rifle, black powder musket, flintlock, Winchester Mercury, 12 gauge, double barrel, short, blow a hole in you the size of a basketball close in. M1 Grand, Army, World War II. That's beautiful. German standard issue. M1 Carbine, standard issue, U.S. Army, World War II. A lot of people think this is a Luger. This is not. It's a Walther P-38.
Your dad was in the war, right?
Yeah, tank gunner.
Yeah, but which side was he on?
Elmore Leonard was one of the producers of Life of Crime, but he died a month before its premiere as closing night attraction in Toronto a year ago. Although the film, adapted and directed by Daniel Schechter, sticks to the basic plot, it misses out on Leonard's trademark combination of violence, comedy and suspense. Those elements are all present, but they're strangely muted, as if the director didn't have the courage to go for it. Nor is this one of Leonard's most original stories. The basic idea seems to have been inspired by O. Henry's The Ransom of Red Chief. It's a bit disappointing. Margaret?
Do you see, I liked it, but I'm not the mad fan of Elmore Leonard that you are. I don't read him, and you know him very well.
I love his
So your
stuff,
expectations are sort of like up there.
Always high, yes.
Mine are out there in the ether.
OK, so you probably enjoyed it more.
Somewhere. And so I came at this, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
I thought it was terrific. And what I mind is that everybody sort of disparages Jennifer Aniston.
Not everybody,
Jennifer
I
Aniston
don't.
film.
I don't.
No, I think she's made some really interesting
has.
choices. And I think she's terrific in this. And John Hawkes, who is an amazing actor. Every role he takes on, he's different in, and so convincing. And he's gorgeous as this sort of scrawny crook, minor crook.
I think all the performances are good, but somehow he just misses that very particular thing that makes Elmore Leonard so exciting and original in films like Jackie Brown or Out of
Well,
Sight
I mean, come on, you know, Jackie Brown's an extraordinarily good film.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, it's all based on the same material.
Well, you know, I mean, writers have their good days and bad days too.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm giving this 3.5 stars.
I'm giving it 3.
We got a minor problem. Well, actually, we've got some good news and some not such good news.
Had a feeling you had some news.
He's going back tomorrow. He's leaving. And now that he's out of the casino and back on the wagon, he's in a pretty good place, all things considered.
That's the not so good news.
He wants to get back and make an appearance, see his wife, call off the divorce. But he wants me to come back to Detroit with him. I just reminded him that I'm the only person he has to talk to about this. You know, the sympathetic listener.
So this is the good news.
Well, the bad isn't exactly bad, and the good isn't exactly sensational, but what it does do is it gets things back to normal. You've got little Mickey back with hubby.
Assuming she's alive. Oh, which reminds me, you should really call your friend.
It actually gives you time to set this up and do it right. I mean, you're a hunk, but you are a piss-poor extortionist, if you don't mind me saying. Let's be honest. This could have been set up a whole lot better.
Isla Fisher's fabulous too. Life of Crime is currently screening in limited release. One of the most important voices of new German cinema in the 1970s was Rainer Werner Fassbinder, and I've chosen his 1974 film Fear Eats the Soul as this week's classic. During the early 1970s, Fassbinder used the conventions of melodrama to explore issues of racism, alienation, repression and exploitation. He was inspired by the melodramas of Douglas Sirk, and Fear Eats the Soul is a nod to all that heaven allows. Fassbinder was an enormously prolific filmmaker, 40 films, 2 television series, remember Berlin Alexanderplatz, as well as numerous stage and radio plays, all this in a career of less than 15 years. In Fear Eats the Soul, a lonely 60-year-old cleaning woman, Emmy, Brigitte Mira, meets Moroccan guest worker Ali, El Hedi Ben Salem, Fassbinder's partner at that time. Their relationship and eventual marriage brings out the racism in family and friends.
Alles gucken.
Macht ja nichts draus. Sind bloß neidisch, die Leute.
Nix verstehen, neidisch.
Neidisch ist, wenn jemand nicht sehen kann, dass ein anderer was hat.
Ah, verstehen.
Und die sind alle bloß neidisch. Alle. Alle.
Warum weint du?
Weil ich so glücklich bin auf der einen Seite. Und auf der anderen Seite halte ich das alles nicht mehr aus. Dieser Hass von den Menschen. Von allen. Allen. Manchmal wünsche ich mir, ich wäre mit dir ganz allein auf der Welt. Und keiner um uns herum. Ich tue natürlich immer so, als macht mir das alles gar nichts aus. Aber natürlich macht es mir was aus. Es macht mich kaputt.
Wasn't she wonderful? Brigitte Mira won the German Film Award for that performance, and the film itself won the International Critics Prize in Cannes in '74. It's not just that it's an exposé of racism, it also explores the dynamics of a relationship. When Emmy and Ali are despised by the world, they cling to one another with great affection. When the world begins to accept them, they face different pressures. Fassbinder was interested in the power dynamic of relationships. Also, bravely, Fassbinder addresses Germany's recent history. Emmy and Ali go to the restaurant which Hitler frequented in the early 1930s, and Emmy freely admits she was a member of the Nazi Party. Fassbinder shot the film in just under 2 weeks. His framing is immaculate, his themes are powerful, and the performances are great. Sadly, he died in 1982 at the age of only 37 from a lethal overdose of drugs. I am so angry with him for that. What a waste.
Funnily enough, 1982 in February was the year I was on the jury at the Berlin Film Festival, and we gave the Golden Bear to Fassbinder for his film Veronica Voss.
Yeah.
And that was the only time he won the major prize at a festival, so I was very pleased that that happened not very long before he died. One of the fascinating things about Fear Eats the Soul, thinking about it, is that religion is not touched on at all. I mean, the fact whether or not Ali is a Muslim is not mentioned.
Well,
it's
the fact
discussed.
that no, it's not.
Not an issue.
And actually, they meet in a bar where they're drinking alcohol.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it would. If you made that film today, there would be a whole different element that isn't included there. Fassbinder had, in 1970, in Munich, he'd been directing in theatre, the Anti-Theatre,
Yes.
it was the name of his company, and made some films before 1970. In 1970, there was a retrospective of Douglas Sirk films, at the Film
That's
Museum
right,
in Munich,
yes.
and he went along and saw all these films and was profoundly influenced by the fact that Cirque made these melodramas out of everyday life. And of course, as you say, he takes All That Heaven Allows, which Todd Haynes later took for Far From Heaven as well, and kind of changes it so that the television set, which is important in both those films, is used in a completely different way here.
But, he actually met Cirque in Switzerland, and I think Cirque actually looked at his screenplays. So, I mean, they're both wonderful filmmakers. The depiction of racism is done so confrontingly at times in this film, as you'll see in this next scene.
Der sieht aber gut aus, Emmy, wirklich. Und so sauber. Wieso sauber? Na ja, entschuldige, aber ich habe immer gedacht, die waschen sich nicht.
Der ja, der wäscht sich. Der duscht sogar. Jeden Tag.
Und die Muskeln, die der hat. Oh.
Der kann ordentlich zupacken. Na, komm mal her. Mach mal. Fass den mal an.
Toll. Und die Haut ist so zart.
Er ist ja auch noch so jung. Aber er ist ein guter Kerl. Wirklich. Ein guter Kerl.
Was hat er denn jetzt?
Tja, manchmal hat er seinen eigenen Kopf. Das macht die fremde Mentalität. Wollt ihr was trinken?
Gern. Einen Kaffee. Paula, du auch?
Ja, aber nicht zu stark. Momentchen bitte.
Oh my
it's cringe-making, isn't it?
It makes me cry, that scene.
Melodrama with a social message. That's Fassbinder's Fear Eats the Soul. And next week's classic is William Wyler's great The Best Years of Our Lives.
And that's the show for tonight. Good night from us.
Good night.